I think in the first place, this is something that you want to think about before you actually do your internal insulation work. How do I fix into internal wall insulation? So Chris, a really common question after people have, usually after they've installed.
Always after. Don't think about it before.
is how do we fix into it? You know, obviously in the context of an uninsulated masonry building, fixing is generally fairly straightforward if you've got radiators, curtain poles, services, whatever. I think in the first place, this is something that you want to think about before you actually do your internal insulation work. And where possible, it's ideal to reposition, reroute, or avoid fixing into external walls in general, especially with direct plastered insulations. You know, with things like services, it means chasing into insulation and so on, which is possible, but it's quite destructive, labour intensive, and so on. And obviously, in general, the less we can interfere with the insulation in terms of putting metal components through it, the better in terms of thermal performance. That said, there are a number of ways that we can deal with these things, both in terms of running services and also fixing through. Some people use solutions like pattracing and embedding timbers, which is something that you could consider. But in general, we've got two preferences really, which is to use thermally broken fixings, assuming the thickness of insulation is sufficient enough to accommodate this. The first type of fixing we refer to as a spiral anchor fixing, and it's a sort of corkscrew looking sort of nylon plug, which you can screw into the insulation layer only, and that will disperse the load within the insulation, and it's good for something like 5 kilos per fixing point. So speakers, artwork, something like that, you could use that sort of fixing. And then for heavier weight fittings, we've got a Fischer Thermax fixing, which is much beefier fixing, big masonry plug and screw, which goes right back through the insulation into the masonry, and it's basically got a big thermally broken head that you can fix into. So that would enable you to fix into internal wall insulation. How would we go around sort of actually physically installing those?
So the other alternative, which is for really lightweight stuff, is literally screwing straight through the plaster just with a short wood screw. So that'll hold a kilo or two. It's it's for really lightweight stuff. Maybe you're hanging a picture, or it's just something very, very lightweight. The FID fixings, these big spiral anchor fixings, as you say, only go through the wood fibre, so they are limited to the depth of the wood fibre. They will hold a good sort of 5 kilos, maybe a bit more, and again for relatively lightweight stuff, curtain poles and that kind of thing. As you say, small speakers. Those you drill through the plaster, drill a little pilot hole. You have to cut a little slot out the side of that so that the fins of the spiral anchor will actually go through the plaster, because otherwise they get broken off. But they work really, really well, and they're really good for holding other things to the wall. So if you need to mount something a bit heavier, you can use those for holding a piece of ply or something to the wall first, and then screwing into that. The Thermax fixings, which you screw all the way through and into the masonry behind, are for really kind of heavy stuff. So each fixing will take sort of upwards of 20 kilos. So if you wanted to mount kitchen units or something like that, those are the kind of fixings that you would use. And you screw those in, you finish them flush with the surface of the plaster, and then you screw into the thermally broken head. And all of that is for sort of direct plastered, solid internal wall insulation. Obviously, if you're using the nature wall system, you've got battens on within the system that kind of mitigate all of that, and you can screw straight to the battens, which is why we designed it.
A huge advantage.
So exactly. So for more modern applications, when I say modern applications, modern living applications, where you need to be able to fix stuff to the walls, where you want to run services through the walls, all that kind of thing. That's why we have the nature wall system.
And obviously, in that instance, those battens are entirely thermally separated by the initial run of rigid insulation versus seating the battens into the direct plastered run of insulation, where it would be a sort of repeating. That's
a very good point. The last thing you really want to do is put a load of timber inside your insulation. A, it's a thermal bridge, and B, the timber doesn't behave quite so well in those conditions as the wood fibre does.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Yeah, good.